about the timeline.
Wait, hold on. Welcome to a
I'm
place
going to be
podcast.
simping towards you with how you do your
I'll take
SMP. Yeah.
Don't worry, he's got enough Sims as is. But yeah, welcome to a placeholder podcast, a podcast where me and my co-host Classic Reilly talk about stuff
Hello.
at a certain time. That's Reilly. Today, as you can guess from the title, I imagine if I've changed that, and the thumbnail, we have Dunn Free, aka Luke
Wagwan.
Dunn,
Howdy.
aka Dunn Free _6. I don't know if you have any of the names.
Just Dunn or Dunn through.
Cool.
Fun fact: it's my surname. I used to not pronounce the 3 because it's just Dunn, but you replace the E with a 3, and then everyone just starts calling me Dunn 3, and I'm like, you just call me Dunn, and they're like, it's Dunn 3, and now it's become the thing. I'm like, yeah, fuck Dunn 3,
yeah. Now he's a very special guest on our podcast this time for a few reasons. One, well, we've known him for a while. 2, he's technically my boss. And 3, he's part of the reason I started this podcast because he wouldn't let me on his.
Wow.
It's not that I didn't let you on it. It's that when it came around to you coming on to the podcast, we canceled the podcast.
Yeah, coincidentally, right when I was about to be more free.
Yeah. But you got the better co-host. I'm just saying that right now, you know?
I mean, yeah, you're right. I had Luke Tony on last week. He was pretty good the last time. Oh, because this is a audio only podcast. For context, Classic Reilly is currently throwing his middle fingers at me.
What are you talking about? Are you gaslighting me? I'm a child-friendly YouTuber. That could ruin my career. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's really as I continue to defend myself on the gaslighting, I'm holding up 2 middle fingers.
Oh.
But yeah, Luke, it's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Hawk.
Welcome to a Placeholder podcast, the second most popular Placeholder podcast on YouTube.
We're trying to get number 1.
There actually is, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to do a collaboration with them and get the rights from them.
Well, I thought we just wanted to, prove we were better than them by getting more subs on YouTube.
Well, that's the goal too. Yeah. I mean, get more subs and then take their podcast.
And then gaslight them into quitting.
Exactly. Yeah. That sounds so horrible. If they listen to this, we're just joking, or are we?
Sure we are. Sure we are. But for context,
that should be the title of this episode: putting the gas and gaslighting.
maybe we'll see. But yeah, for context, we talked about this the last episode, which was a while ago. After our first episode, we learned that there's another podcast called a Placeholder Podcast, because how it worked was originally, if you watch episode 1, we just called this What the Podcast. But the YouTube app for that was taken, but the Placeholder Podcast app wasn't taken. No. We're like, you know what? Sure, that's a pretty good app. And then we find out, no, that podcast exists. They just don't have the app. They're called like the real Placeholder Podcast. Like, why not just take the app? Like, I'm not saying you're dumb, but that's kind of dumb, bro. Like, come on.
I really hope they don't listen to this.
Hey,
I really hope the real Placeholder Podcast doesn't listen to this.
I really hope
imagine like the first thing here. You're just dumb.
No, you know what? Real Placeholder Podcast, whatever you call it. If you're listening to this, just at me. We'll have you on. We'll just sell this beef on the air. What's the worst that can happen? We get canceled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. I mean, to be fair, Stealth, you don't have to worry about much. You're like really good at hiding your identity. My identity is like completely out everywhere. It's not that difficult to track me down.
That's true. Yes.
Like even Luke knows where I live. Like all you have to do is just look up Snapchat, go on Snapchat maps, and you can find me.
Oh yeah.
Wait a second. Hold the phone.
I'm pretty sure I have Luke's coordinates somewhere on my laptop. On my computer.
My coordinates.
Your coordinates, yeah. I don't know.
Welcome back to the Stalker Podcast, where we stalk content creators.
Yeah, no, exactly. Stalker Podcast, where we stalk content creators. But yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Luke, aka Dunn, whatever, he is a what would you call yourself actually?
I am a streamer. I'm the founder of Dunne SMP, is what I call it. The founder. From one SMP founder to another, Mr. Reilly.
Mm.
Yeah, the Dunn SMP is a scripted SMP. So practically at this point, it is a TV show. It's a Minecraft series that is completely scripted, something similar to something like Shadow of Israfel for any of the big boomers out there that remember that from back in the Yogscast days.
They never finished it. It was shocking.
They never finished it, bastard. We're still waiting for episode 48.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been running it now for 2.5 years. It was December of 2020 is when it started.
Yeah.
And just recently we finished our second chapter, so our second story arc.
Yes, the Command War.
The Command War, indeed. Yeah, and so but today we'll probably talk about all the lore and everything behind it and a lot of
And
behind
the ins and outs,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just to start off with drama, to get people hooked, out of curiosity, and I should probably ask Stealth Hawk because he's probably the less biased one. So Stealth Hawk, out of curiosity, because you've played on both, which was your favorite SMP, the Dunn SMP or classic SMP season 2? I think season 2, that was a really well run SMP.
Stealth, remember which SMP you're still in.
That's true. That's true.
Do you remember the flat land on classic SMP season 2 where the events? Oh, no one showed up to the events. That was my favorite.
I mean, think about it, but they both have their strengths. Classic SMP season 2 was a cool idea.
That totally did not flop or fail.
That's genuinely it.
I thought it was pretty fun. I think because I had on Classic 2 we had factions.
Yeah.
And in my little faction, I got some of the Dunn SMP lads on. I thought it was pretty fun how we built our giant cube fortress.
I think it definitely had potential, but I think I needed to actually put proper funds into it and have a lot more players. I think looking back, if I was to have done an ideal classic SMP season 2, because I think it would have fit in a lot more, I would have loved to have gone back to the roots of Minecraft and just done it in beta 1.7.3.
Yeah, you were
Classic
trying
3.
to do that.
You never know.
Ever come?
You were toying around with that idea often.
I was toying around if I wanted to come back to Minecraft content creation, but for the moment, I'm making content again right now, but it's not Minecraft related. But I'll talk about that much later, probably.
What's really funny is I'm making content that is Minecraft related, which I thought I would never be doing.
I know. I'm excited. I'm really excited for that.
But this guy fucking has me working. How dare you? But to answer the question as to which I keep saying podcast, which SMP I prefer, one of those SMPs still exists. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow. Guess it. You wouldn't be in that SMP if it wasn't for me, Stealth. You better remember that, buddy.
I mean, the way I joined the SMP was just I saw you streaming Among Us, and I was like, "Yo, that's fun." And in chat, I was like, "Yo, I wish I could play." And then I started streaming because I just got my computer because I knew Ann and Luca from there. And then I feel like you messaged me like, "Hey, yeah, you want to join?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Then you never played Among Us again. I'm so glad
you joined. Yeah, honestly, I'm so some of my favorite people I've met from the SMP. It's of course Luke too, but I just love hanging out with you, Stealth. Just me and Stealth have hung out a few times around London and Brighton, and it's always my favorite time. Even my parents love Stealth. They're always like, "How's he doing? I hope he's doing great."
What can I say? Make a good impression on parents. So if Matt and Valani's parents are watching this, no, but yeah. Yeah, I've met Reilly twice. I've met Doyler once. I've not met Luke once. Yeah, soon now. Yes. Soon. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Big reunion or unification, whatever the word is.
But yeah. So yeah, because I don't want to say, but I was the first viewer to join Classic SMP. But I definitely was a viewer for the most part. And then I joined towards the end of season 1, and then season 2 was there, and I was decently active on it. And then season 2 just kind of went to, I'm not going to say it went to shit, but it kind of died.
You can completely roast it all you want. I did a great job on the first half of season 1 of Classic SMP.
Yeah.
And then I did a really bad job in season 2, which is why I really respect Luke even more for the way he's kept Dunn SMP alive and the lore and everything.
Yeah, because
I was going to say, I feel like Classic 2, I feel like what went wrong is that people they didn't feel engaged. They didn't participate. It wasn't even on you, right? I think the general populace didn't get involved enough. Which of course the struggle is, how do you get them to get involved? But I remember one thing, which was the whole idea of being able to steal money from one another. That was good, because then that adds tension, and then, you know, that's engaging. I thought that was a really good idea. However, the problem was no one wanted to be the first one to do it.
That's true, yeah.
No one wanted to be the first one to do it. So it became a thing of, it was like the Cold War. Just everyone was tense, and everyone was like kind of iffy with each other, and no one wanted to be the one to pull the trigger.
Because I think the problem was, and this isn't me like crapping on anyone, because, you know, it's fair enough. I think the problem was that, like you said with the Cold War, wait, what was, you know, when you have your soul and you just lose it? Wait, what was I gonna say? I think people were worried, oh, they got too into it, so they'd get offended. So, like, let's say you killed me, Luke. I think some people were worried, oh, I'd actually like hate you in real life because of that. Even though it's like, you see, the way I view it, it was kind of like just, oh, it's just fun. It's just video. You know, because I used to play factions all the time when I was 13, 14, and I loved it. Like, you know, you could spend like 2 weeks on a base and it would be gone the next day, and it sucked, but it was like, ooh, war, I'm gonna get you kind of thing. But I think with sometimes people, when I played on factions back then, a lot of people actually took it really, really seriously, and they would try to track you down, DDoS you, ruin your life. And I'm not saying that would happen on Classic SMP Season 2, but I think people were worried that if, like, even I was scared, like, if I killed the wrong person, they would hate me, and that would cause drama. So I think that was my only worry with it.
Yeah, personally, I don't know, because looking back at it, being in an actual lore server now, I was kind of confused of, was it lore or was it not lore? I thought it was just going to be us casually hanging out, but then we got an actual storyline as factions. And I guess I feel like I wasn't communicated that well what exactly Classic was.
Yeah, no, communication was really poor. Honestly, I think what would have been perfect would be, have you guys ever seen, I think it's Half-Life or what's it called? It's the SMP. It's an SMP. I forgot what it's called. It's like Half-Life SMP, or essentially SMP, it's kind of like you only have, you only have like 3 lives SMP. Or 6 lives. No, it's not lifesteal. It's Green. I know Green and Solidarity, they all played on it. Oh, I think the whole idea was you could only be on a certain time of day. So it was like 12 to 15 content creators. They all played on the SMP at the same time for like 3-hour chunks, and they all recorded their POVs. I think it worked really well because everyone was always recording. Everyone was always like trying to fight each other or kill each other. And I think that worked better, not for the fact that everyone was like, had free time, but it was a professional full-time job. So they all had to show up for it, which obviously, you know, you can't force everyone to make that commitment to show up on Classic SMP all the time. So that's another reason. I think if it was like, if we had full-time content creators who were like, oh, this is my job, they would have showed up. But again, that would have never worked with my case, I don't think. So it's completely reasonable why I think the SMP fit. I just was terrible communication. I think the idea was solid, but I think it needed a lot more work. So if I ever do it again, I think I might run it with a few people and test run it and like actually put proper funds into it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
I'm after looking it up as to what that SMP was. It was the one run by Green, wasn't it? There was 4 seasons, and they all had different life-related names. It was season 1 was Third Life. Season 2 was Last Life, and I think that was the one that everyone knows, Last Life. Then there was Double Life and Limited Life.
Yeah.
So I think the one that kind of blew up was Last Life SMP.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think I remember watching a few clips. Cause I remember, I think it was around that time I was editing for one of the members, so I had to watch a lot of it for some of his videos and shorts and stuff like that.
But yeah, no. Classic, it just wasn't communicated for me. And to be honest, being that experience of Classic Season 2 kind of soured my view on taking part in lore servers, if that makes sense. Because I was like, you know what, hey, this probably ain't my cup of tea. You know, I just don't see myself ever doing it.
And then you got invited to the Dunne SMP.
See,
a much better run SMP.
You, baby.
It was okay, I've probably mentioned this on the podcast before, it's been a while, but the story of how I joined the Dunne SMP, I consider it to be pretty funny, because essentially, so I'm good friends with like some of the members of Dunne SMP, and N, who's also part of Dunne SMP, would just tell me, yeah, we just hang out all the time, but it's lots of fun. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I need friends. Because everyone I have right now, they're just busy with life. I need people my age who aren't like super toxic. Then I actually met Luke, but no. So I shot him.
Then it turned out I was super toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I shot him in DM, and I was like, look, I need friends. Now, I'm sure you maybe need a background extra. Because I had been in the Dunne SMP once before. Funny enough, that was like almost a year ago. Yeah, it was over a year ago. Where I just, where I played just one of the piglins in, I want to say the Pigs Part 4? One of those. I was just an extra. One of them, yeah. Yeah, I was there for about a day, and then I got kicked because I was only an extra. But then like a year later, because this is actually me joining would be like a year-ish from now. I would just like to look, I hear you guys hang out a lot. I need friends. So you need a background actor so I can have minimal work, but just hang out with you guys. And then he sent me the application form. And I thought I filled that out horribly because I was just like, yeah, I'm not making content. I'm going to be honest. I'll just be a background guy. Apparently I was good enough to get sent in. I've been here. I'm
after pulling up the message to quote you. What have I got to do to become a permanent extra / background actor in Dunne SMP just so I can have access to the server /J? And then I sent you the application.
You should have done /J. You know, then we're like, is he serious? Is he joking? You know.
I said, let me do a thing, and I sent you the link.
Yeah, because like I'd known of Luke because I like talked to him a little bit in Classic, and I watched his streams. And originally I was just a background extra. I would just be playing Piglins for the most part because slight spoilers were done, so people have a lot of Piglin stuff.
A lot of Piglin stuff.
A lot of Piglin stuff.
We'll get into that. We'll get into the lore of it in a bit.
But then eventually, I can't remember who suggested it. We just came up with a character idea for me. And then I was like, you know what, fine. But I didn't want to stream. I was just like, cool, I'll just be on the SMP as a character in other people's streams. But then I had this really cool idea, which I'll get into later because it's a bit of content I've been working on. And now I actually am one of the content creators on the server.
Heck yeah, bro. I just thought of there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was saying, you mentioned how one of the faults from classic SMP was like the lack of communication.
Yeah.
And how it's not, obviously, this is not our full-time jobs. Everyone has their own lives around it.
Yeah, exactly.
I can compare how we do that differently in Dunne SMP.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we stand out quite a bit with that.
I agree, yeah.
I've always had the mindset of, this is not our jobs. We are all doing this part-time. It's a bit of fun. We obviously want participation as much as possible, but you can't control when someone like, oh, I'm gone for like 2 weeks because work. You never know when that shit happens. So what I've always done and what we've always had the kind of the policy of is you can take as much time off as you want. Just be as transparent with us as possible. If someone comes to me and says, oh, I can't make the stream on whatever day in like 2 weeks, can you change the date? Of course, no bother. If someone comes to me, if they say, I won't be able to make any content for the next 6 months, I'm not going to kick you from the SMP. Go for it. That's great. Thank you for telling me. We will ride around that. We'll work our way around it. Or even it's something as simple as, I feel really burned out. I'm not making much content anymore. I'm not sure how many streams I'm going to be showing up in. That's fine. Thank you for telling us. And we've always worked by that motto.
Yeah.
They can take as much time off as they need, just so long as we're communicating. You need to be open and talking about these things.
And I feel like that's just not important when you're just making like an SMP or something. But communication, genuinely, I feel like it's one of the most underappreciated things in life in general, because just talking about most problems in life, those happen, at least I personally feel like, it's because of poor communication between two people. And so if you take anything from this podcast, communicate better with everyone.
100%. I'm actually it's quite like I'm gonna be recommending a few books. I think I have it on my table. Hang on.
Are you read?
There's this book I read a lot now. I'm making content again, but when I wasn't making content, I've been reading a lot, trying to figure out how can I make good content, but also how can I be a better person. And I got this book together. I think it's in this. It's called The Diary of a CEO, and it's by a guy called Stephen Bartlett. He's a anyway. He was talking about in life, if you want to succeed, focus on communication. Like literally, I think it was in the Diary of a CEO. He was like trying to explain that in businesses, businesses think that usually most of the time, if they want to incentivize their employees, it's about, you know, give them extra money in the sense of, oh, whoever brings in the most money gets an extra 200 quid or something like that. But that creates like a toxic environment. Really, at the end of the day, if you really want a successful business, or not even business, like a marriage, a friendship, running an S&P, the best thing at the end of the day is actually just simple communication, and being kind. You know, like what you were suggesting, Luke. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a dick. If you just treat people fairly, if you encourage them, they will be nice. If you make it toxic, then people tend to, even if you gave them money, they won't be interested, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like generally just communication is just very important, whether that be with friends, family members, work colleagues, enemies. Just communicate. And that will solve most of your problems. Now, there are going to be situations in life where you're going to communicate and they don't do anything about it. But that's not your fault because you've communicated. So
one of the most recent things when it comes to our communication with the S&P that we've implemented, because here's the thing, right? When we started Dunne S&P, I tried to do everything. And I was burning the fuck out.
I bet you were.
And so now, as we've come on now 2.5 years, I do not do everything anymore. I've dictated a lot of roles to different people. For example, we have a TikTok account. I do not touch that. That is not me. Most I do, I repost them and I leave a comment. That's what I do. And if I have an idea, I shoot it their way. And
then they yell at him when
I can
it's
say
a
who
bad
runs
idea.
the TikTok.
Yeah, Atlas Alien.
It's Atlas Alien. Atlas Alien runs the S&P TikTok. So I will shoot her an idea every now and again whenever I've got them, or if there's a TikTok sound that I see popping up a lot, I'm like, we should use this sound, that'll do well. But in that whole communication thing, one of our most recent things is Mr. Smith is our head of scheduling. So we have meetings where we figure out what streams are going to be done. He then takes it upon himself to figure out every stream that's happening, the order they should be happening, and assigning them to a particular date, and then sending the DMs and be like, you good for this day, you good for that day? Okay, we need how many people for that one? You make sure that they're good. And he does all that. We have a Google Calendar now for everything put together. So he can actually, so we've got everyone added on it, and everyone can check it, and then you can change dates in it and everything, and you drop Smith a DM because he's the head of scheduling and he'll figure everything out. We're very organized with everything.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
I love how professional this is.
Yeah,
it wasn't always like that.
Sure, now even applications for Dunne S&P, if you join the Dungeon, which is our public Discord, we have 3 channels which are about like S&P. What do we actually call the category? I'm gonna get it for you right now.
Follow Watch S&P. There's join Dunne S&P.
It's viewer resources is the name of the category, and the 3 channels in there is follow Dunne S&P, watch Dunne S&P, and join Dunne S&P. And each of them is a private channel with a link that anyone can look at and click the link. The follow one is obviously, it's a link tree. So it's a link tree to all of our TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that. Watch Dunne S&P is our official playlist, which is a Google Doc with links to every single stream in Dunne S&P, including any perspectives that were added. So it's one large playlist of Twitch VODs, YouTube videos, everything, all in one place. And we try to keep it as up to date as possible.
Yeah.
And the final one is joined on S&P, where it's a link to our application questionnaire where you can send in, say, I want to be a background actor, I want to be a full-on actor, I want to be a streamer on it. Send that in, give in all your details, and then we can review it and see where you might fit in or what would work. We're very, very full on with it. The thing I'm very proud of is the most recent thing, which is we now have a Google Drive.
Yeah.
So now all of our resources are pooled into one drive, and I actually recently just upgraded it. So now it's 2 terabytes.
Oh wow, that much memory.
I mean,
I thought you were going to say
turns out it actually doesn't cost a lot.
How much is it?
The default Google Drive for free is 15 gigabytes.
Yeah.
And you can pay a tenner a month, which is far less than we pay for Dunne S&P. So I'll tell you that. You pay a tenner a month, which for the first 3 months is actually only €2 a month. So currently it's €2, and you get 2 terabytes of storage in a Google Drive account.
That's pretty good.
Just for a tenner a month. So because I'm an idiot, I've accidentally paid for it on 2 different accounts and they're linked together. So it's currently, for the first month, it's 4 terabytes, but it'll go down to 2 next month.
Yeah.
And in here we have everything. We've got all of our stuff. We've got documents, personal folders. So for anyone who's got their own content, they want to keep in their own little spot that anyone else can access.
Yeah.
Say, for example, I've got my skins, my Minecraft skins, I keep in my personal folder. So if someone needs my skin for something, they can go get it. I'll be like, oh, just check my personal folder. It's all in there. Recorded meetings, mods, textures, Stealth Hawk.
That's me. I'm talking about roles in the server. I'm the head of the textures department. How did I get there? I don't know. But that's what I do. So if you see anything nowadays, like if you see like a cool custom texture, there's a good chance it was made by me. It might have been made by someone else, but it's probably me.
What we do with Dunn SMP is we've always wanted it to be, I've always said I want it to be vanilla.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea of it is that the actual plot of the SMP is that it's supposed to be very meta. I took a lot of inspiration when we first wrote the beginning of the story that it was going to be like Shadow of Israfel, because Shadow of Israfel did a very cool thing. They started that series back when no one knew what Minecraft was. And so they had characters in that were NPCs when they're just other players that were playing NPCs. So the whole idea of it, it's like real people in a video game. That's the inspiration that we took for that, where it is Minecraft and Minecraft logic applies, but that's part of the story. We've also had that like people will see it from their own perspective. So for example, people understand things in different ways. So something like /timeset_day, a command. I'm the operator. I know that's a command. It's a thing that we're in this digital world. You can type in something in a console and it does that. Whereas someone else would look at that and be like, it's magic. Look at it. Come on, he's doing weird stuff with his hands and the time of day changes. And I've intentionally left it open-ended like that, where anyone who comes in and has a particular idea can write it that way. Yeah. It's very open for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one amazing thing about Minecraft, what a lot of people don't realize, is there's so much you can actually do in vanilla. Like I'm just remembering from back in the Ray SMP days on the lore streams. So
the Ray SMP had lore?
Yeah, we used to have lore. Not now, it wasn't like Dunn SMP. That was like completely scripted, complete lore. Yeah. It was like really good. But like we used to do host events and stuff like that. And like I remember one of the events for season 2, I think it was, my mate Oren, he's a really good forget what the word is, not engineer, what's the person that knows how to code well and stuff like that? Programmer. So he has a programmer mind. He's studying programming in university, but he figured out how to use command blocks. And for one of the lore streams, we decided to make a sword float and spin in the air, and it was like really, really cool. And when everyone saw it on the stream, because it was in vanilla Minecraft, everyone freaked out. So it's amazing, like when it's vanilla Minecraft, because you know mods, you can do anything almost with mods, but when you see it in vanilla Minecraft, everyone freaks out. So like, have you done, I remember you showed me stuff in the past, Luke, with some of the command blocks. So like, what's been some of your like favorite stuff that you've done with vanilla Minecraft that people haven't expected?
I feel like it was a good,
that's a really good question.
I mean, it's the obvious one, right?
As I was going on to say, we do it vanilla, but that's because we want to focus on the story.
Yeah.
We're not focusing on doing a bunch of different stuff with different mods. In fact, we talk about the multiverse, because I've been slowly working in the idea that Minecraft, in terms of the in-canon universe, is a digital world that people who know how can manipulate it with things like commands and such as the operator of a world. The operator of a server, his job is to run the world. That's who he is. That's what his job is. And in different worlds, different rules may apply, such as a world where everyone plays video games and mini games, such as, you know, the Hypixel universe, or another world where the Dream SMP is what's going on. You know, the Dream SMP would be another world in this big, massive multiverse. One where there's a Twilight Forest as another dimension. You know, mods can be a thing that applies to other universes. The default universe you imagine is a vanilla world. We a lot of the lore that we've been talking about is like stuff where you think about it for a second, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is kind of, you know, it's very quick to just you get your head around it. And the idea behind that is that a viewer could look at that and think that their own Minecraft world is part of this big, massive multiverse. That was the one thing I really wanted to tie in the viewers into, is that the idea of they feel part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that because I remember I think you told me that ages ago, and I remember thinking like that's really it's just a really cool feeling because if like you're a young kid or just a kid or a teenager or whatever, it's got like that loves playing Minecraft. You feel like nothing's better as an audience member when you feel like a part of the story. So in filmmaking, as a filmmaker, your job is to make the audience feel like they can immerse themselves in the story and I feel like today on a lot of Minecraft content, you don't get that immersion. Even in the Dream SMP, you could root for the characters, but I think the fact that you try to immerse the viewer, like you could be a part of this. I think that's really cool. I really like that.
I like the idea that a viewer with a good imagination could be playing their game and they could imagine literally a portal opening up and some of the Dunne SMB characters walking through. Like, I like that idea of we're all part of this one big story.
Yeah.
And I got spiraled off. To go back to your question of what I think is the coolest command block thing, I was saying we do a lot of command block stuff. We do a lot of, because we again focus on vanilla, but we now have, as our good boy Stealth here has, we have our own custom resource pack. So we're able to have custom items and custom textures for mobs. We have plugins like the disguise plugins, so we have actual NPC characters such as everyone's favorite boy Rashers, little pig, which
Gregory,
is
the newest edition.
of course, Gregory, your right hand man. Which is a piglin
in a suit. He's so dapper.
And as you said, we have command blocks. Oh, command block. Yes, because the whole last arc was all about command blocks.
It was the command war.
The command war, which we'll get into. We'll have a whole lore talk.
We're going to be on here for hours.
I'd say my favorite thing that I've done with the command blocks would probably be, it has to be the witches' cauldrons and all that. The witches' magic is my favorite thing.
That is the most visually impressive.
Yeah, it's a series of command blocks where, say, one of the witch's spells was using a cauldron to make an item. So I'd have a particular command block that is bound to it. Basically, it's detecting if a player stood within a certain radius of it, the cauldron is holding an item called wand in their offhand slot. So essentially, you could walk up to it, press F to switch hands, and that activates it. And so in doing so, it'll have some particles running around it, and it can summon an item in the cauldron, and poof. And we've had like a couple different command blocks of particles to work as almost like an animation. It's very cool. There's TikToks about, actually, you should, Stealth, you should, I don't know how much you're editing these. Throw one of those TikToks in there because they're really cool. I'm really proud of them.
I don't normally do much editing, but you know what? Hey, you're my boss. I gotta make you happy. So I'm gonna place a TikTok right now. I've not done much editing before, so
make sure to write down the timestamp right now where we are in the recording, or else you're gonna hate yourself. Actually, where you have to like go through it and stuff like that.
3330. What do you remember was?
I'm smart. I'm smart like that.
Yeah, I mean, so you're a professional editor.
Yeah. Well, I'm somehow a professional. I'm not a good editor, but people keep hiring me, which is great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, cool. So we're playing on TikTok. Also follow the Dunne SMP on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram. Yeah. We're on Instagram.
Just join the dungeon. The dungeon has everything in there.
Yeah.
Join the dungeon. It's great.
Join the dungeon. You can follow Dunne SMP. You could try join if you want. Throw in an application. Or you can watch any of the content because we have so much. I actually was just looking through our documents to give you some funny numbers. And not just the number 69, because that is the funniest number, but we'll get back to that. The Dunne SMP script document, which has a big red confidential across the top of it because we're very professional. And the Dunne SMP logo watermarked behind the. We're not obviously showing a visual, but I'm going to show you lads because you lads can see this.
Yeah, let's
Stealth,
see.
I know you know.
Oh yeah, no.
This is the top page of the Dunne SMP script document.
Oh.
And you can see very official, the watermark, Dunne SMP script confidential.
I like it. I like it.
Contents, which is links to the rest of the page or the rest of the script, And if you look on the right, 24 pages long. This is just what we're currently working with. We also have all the finished scripts, which is our backstory document. Which is
I was gonna ask, how long is this gonna take to film all that you have planned or like stream? Like, is this in terms of weeks, months, years?
We've
Depends
planned
on the one.
a couple years in advance.
Yeah.
In terms of the rate we're doing content, we have planned ahead for like the next 6 years.
Wow.
What?
We have a lot planned ahead. At the rate we're going, it's like 6 years. We've just finished chapter 2, and we're 2.5 years in.
But that was back when we would do a stream every like 4 months. Now we're doing more regular. We could get posted.
That's a good number we can throw in. Is we try to aim for around 20 streams for a chapter. 20 streams in a chapter. Depending on how often those streams are, will depend on how busy people are at the time. But around 20 streams in a chapter, 3 chapters in a season, and so far we've planned ahead as far as season 3.
Yeah, you told me about season 3.
So that's 9 chapters, 20 streams ish in each, and roughly 1 stream a week. So it's a good while. Good while.
Are you able to change the story over if like, so let's say 6 years, like this isn't a criticism or anything, but like if we look at most SMPs in the past and what makes the Dunne SMP really successful is usually people don't stick around that long. Like most SMPs only last a few days to a few weeks. So the fact that you've already done 2.5 years, like I think you've been the dream SMP. Are you worried at all that it could maybe not fall apart, but that everyone leaves as time goes on? Or do you think you have a tight enough group that you guys could be doing this for the next 6 years? Like the great thing is that everyone's hanging out. You guys always go on holidays together. So you're like a really tight group of friends, but you know, obviously life gets in the way. So do you think you'll be able to complete it out? Do you think you might have to get more cast members, or do you think there's a chance it could, well, not abruptly end, but you might have to shorten it out? Or what do you think?
I think we've planned ahead for as far as we can go. I think if we got that far, I would stop it. If we got as far as season 3, I think I'd say, okay, we've had our run. We don't need this going too long, and it's already gone as long as it has, and we call it there, and we have put a proper end to the story. However, life can always happen. Even myself, I know in the next like 2-3 years ish, I probably will be too busy to ever make content. So, which means I don't know how much Dunne SMP can go on without me. Not to toot my own horn, I'd say that it could keep going on, but I know my members would, the other members of Dunne SMP might disagree with me.
We'd have to rename it. What is Dunne SMP without Dunn? It's like New Girl when New Girl wasn't even on the show anymore.
Or when Tony Stark left the MCU.
Oh man, it's never been the same since. It's never been the same.
No, I hate Marvel right now. Like the films are all right, but I just given up on the TV shows.
But as you were saying, right, when it comes to just people like leaving and stuff like that, I feel like, now granted, I'm of course not the head writer of Dunne SMP. I'm just one of the. I guess I'm an actor, right?
Yes, you're an actor. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I have the faith that they'd be able to, because we've had similar stuff where, without not throwing shade at anyone, but we were supposed to do stuff at a certain time, but we had to change plans because life happens. Just sometimes life just happens, and we were able to adapt. So at the end of the day, that's what's important. And in terms of new characters, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's not that we don't need new characters. It'd be good.
I feel like we're currently at a point where we have so much story planned and so much stuff is in going on. It's difficult to write in more characters because it's already. You know what? This is now the perfect time to show this, because again, we're not showing this on podcast because it's very confidential information. But Reilly, we'll get your reaction to this.
Okay.
Welcome to the Miro board.
Oh, that is so cool.
This is our Dunne SMP official timeline.
This reminds me of what's it called? 2B2T, with their they have like a massive timeline of history on the server. Oh, that's really cool.
So I'm gonna already say, do not mention this one. Because I'm currently showing you the three chapter logos. This has not been announced yet.
Now
you're getting behind the scenes look here. Now, this logo I teased in the dungeon, and we then did our work and figured out my head of scheduling got to work and figured out when this will actually be shown off, and it won't be shown off for like another 2 months.
It looks really cool. It looks really cool.
Yeah,
but you
Actually,
can see
I
here
was
we
gonna
got
say, because what you guys have been doing, it's made me interested. If you guys, because you have like a, it sounds like you're like really efficient. Everyone has their own roles. Have you ever heard of the YouTube channel, Evan? I think it's called Evan MC Gaming.
Um,
I think so.
he he
I never have.
essentially makes videos on the Dream SMP. Like he goes through the history of the Dream SMP through different arcs and stuff like that, and he does it like cinematics and stuff like that and narrates over. I was like saying that would be so cool to see on if the Dunn SMP did something like that, similar, like where you would be able to show off the stories and stuff like
We
that.
do have something kind of in the works. One of our guys he's planning on making essentially. Have you ever watched Dragon Ball?
No.
Well, Dragon Ball had a re-release the series where they cut out all the filler and they updated the animation, and Dragon Ball Z became Dragon Ball Z Kai. We have something similar planned where we're going to have a YouTube series where everything is condensed down, all the fillers cut out. For example, the last stream that just happened was called As the Dust Settles. It was right after the war ended, and it was a funeral for those who died, because we actually have had characters that have lost all their lives in
Yeah.
the last couple streams. So we've characters that are completely gone. We had a funeral for them, and then we had we as we call it, an Irish funeral. We went off to the pub, and we all got pished, and we talked about our plans for the next coming weeks, since we're kind of gone back to a time of peace now, between chapters. And so now, what was it? How did I get onto that?
You're talking about like the thing that I guess the abridged version video is coming out soon.
Yes, it's that. For example, that stream, or for the compacted videos, will literally just be the funeral for like 5 minutes, and that's it. The stream is an hour long, but it's going to be condensed into 5 minutes of content, and then we can cut into a whole arc into like 2 videos. And that's the idea, is we could condense the entire series down into a couple of YouTube videos, and that's in the works.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be really cool.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of this timeline.
It looks really cool.
It's so good.
We have a good bit of backstory in it, in the SMP, because essentially our characters, we typically introduce a character, have them play around for a bit, and at some point when they feel ready, they're like, okay, time for you to learn my backstory. We go into their backstory, and in the however many backstories we've told, we've built a real history of the world. And so in here, we've got the original builders, we've got the Red Bandits, the Knights. There's so many factions, because people will be like, oh, I'm from whatever blank insert faction, and now we've built a history of however many factions in the server.
Yeah. We have many factions, many people from different worlds as well. Without spoiling too much, obviously.
Well, again, we're not going into future content. I don't mind talking a bit about it. So my character's actual backstory is that Dunne SMP started on the 20th of December 2020. Or the 23rd of December 2020. That was, as I called it, D-Day, when Dunne SMP started, right? What we went on to learn is that there was a lot more history, as I said, that happened before I joined. There was operators before me. My actual backstory of how I came to Dunne SMP was I was from another world called Skyworld. It's another server, another universe, another world in the multiverse. Where I was trained by operators to be basically a superhero. And they had one rule, which is to not abuse command powers. My character ended up using creative mode to destroy a machine that was it was a lag machine that was going to destroy the world. My character, as Skyline was the superhero name, Skyline used creative mode to destroy the machine to save the world, which he did do, but that was abusing command powers, using creative mode. And so he was kicked from the world. And what he did with himself was he found a world that needed a new operator, and he stepped in to fill the role. And that was Dunne SMP Day 1. That was my character's backstory to it.
Yeah.
And ever since then, we've met so many different characters with their own histories from Dunne SMP, some coming from other worlds, and the random hijinks that happens between all of our characters. The first arc was the mysterious tools. So that was talking about how the original builders were the operators before me. They were the guys who ran the world. There was a lot of inspiration taken from the Celestials from Eternals. They're the kind of a big inspiration for the original builders.
Mhm.
Where there was, I think, 7 of them. We planned each of them having a tool in particular, which is the first arc that was about the mysterious tools,
Come to think
where
of
it was
it,
the
that would have
mm,
came out around the time Zatannos came out.
yeah,
Ah, I didn't know that. I never like connected it.
yeah.
But yeah, sorry, go on.
So the mysterious tools, the plot is essentially Dunn decides, because you can see here, the first stream was the Woodland Mansion raid. So that was, we had one lore stream before that, which was called the Jorge plot, which was kind of our first kind of test in the waters of lore. Was very disconnected from everything else. It was just a little fun plot that happened.
Yeah.
Um, Then we decided, okay, we're writing arcs. We proper started planning out, and we started the first ever story arc, the first chapter with the Woodland Mansion raid, where my character gets everyone together, says, "I found a Woodland Mansion. We're gonna go raid that. We're gonna raid it today." My character finds a meteorite made of obsidian and magma blocks and breaks it open, and he finds uh, a mysterious sword. He picks up the sword and he recognizes that it has enchantments of like sharpness 50 and things that you can't get in survival mode. These are not natural enchantments. Something's odd here. And the first thing he does, because he's just so tempted, is he uses it to kill Leon. Immediately, big serious thing. Everyone's like, okay, Dunne is public enemy number 1. What is this sword? What's going on? And that goes into the next one as the resistance is formed, where they all gather together. They're like, what's going on here? This is like some weird mysterious sword
Yeah.
with all this power. Surely there must be other tools out there.
Yeah.
And then that goes into the idea of, okay, there's the mysterious tools. And it became a race of every stream. The resistance is trying to get to a particular tool before Dunne. And that was every stream of that
So
arc.
you're the villain, is it? Of the
I was the
SMP?
first villain, yeah. We have Battle for the Axe, the race for the shovel and scythe. Everill's proposal was one where I get blackmailed because essentially Everill, who is another character from the SMP, he's one who comes from a history of a hardcore world, so he's very much he's very what's the word? Nettle, for lack of a better word. Him and Dunn do not get along very well. We're constantly at each other's throats. As we like to go on even now to say, they're both good people, but they both have very different opinions.
But different philosophies.
Different philosophies, and they always butt heads with one another. Everill's proposal was a stream where he blackmailed me into his he basically opened to me and admitted saying that he hates me. And all of this has been to get back to me because when I first got the sword, he tried to chase me and I stabbed him with the fire aspect 30 on that sword and it burned him for hours. And he got lost in the nether and he was burning for hours. And so he grew this hatred towards my character. And so he helped build the resistance to throw them at me as cannon fodder. And so he's basically saying, I know you don't want to kill all these people, but I'm going to let them get killed over and over again until I kill you, until I have you feel the suffering you did to me. And there's nothing you can do because no one will believe you. You're the big bad with the sword. No one's going to believe you. I love this stuff. Goes in the next one where we find the bow and the shield and the big confrontation where Everill and the resistance basically say, give up the sword. Do it. And my character just can't face him because he knows he will kill everyone to get to me. Gives up the sword and gets killed by it from Everill. Everill gets the sword and kills him with it. And then Everill becomes the villain for the next while.
Yeah.
Where again,
wait, before you go on, can I just interject? Before you did all this, like, was this the first time you practiced storytelling, or have you done this before, or did you just jump straight in, or did you read books, or did you learn any storytelling methods, or was it like not, I don't want to use the word fake it till you make it because this is really good. I don't know what the word is. You just jump straight in, I suppose. Like, is this your first time ever storytelling?
I've done a bit of writing. That's pretty much it. This is you know what I am jumping into this is acting. This is me jumping into acting because I've never done that kind of stuff before. This is really my beginning of that. And actually you'll find my backstory as Skyline was a comic that I wrote. That was my
Yeah.
storytelling. So a lot of characters from my backstory and some other characters that we've had were actually adaptations of my comic, such as Skyline, because in that he was a guy with wind powers, and so I adapted him into a version that works for this world as an operator trainee, basically.
Yeah.
Which that's another thing, is that I was saying how we've got my guy as an ex superhero turned operator who is very aware of the digital world around him. We've got some characters that have no idea about it being a digital world, such as Kevin, who's a witch from the Witches' Coven, which was again another faction from Dunn SMP.
We have many factions, like we said.
So many. Yeah, we've got the witches, we've got the Red Raiders, we've got the knights, we've got the elves. That's one of the latest that we've shown off.
I mean, I guess the pigs, they're under new management, but they're still
the pigs are considered a faction now because they are a large group. But funnily enough, they're the only faction that we've seen the creation of them on screen. All those other factions came before, and most of them have now come to an end before even the start of before D-Day.
At least as far as we know.
As far as we know, of course, a lot of characters are like they're the last one of whatever faction. Leon is one of the knights. Sal was actually one of the knights.
One of Sal is.
Sal's a whole thing. We're not going to get into that's just a whole thing. He's got a whole multiversal plot line, and it's more complicated than Rick and Morty.
No, that's actually very accurate.
The version of Sal from Dunn SMP was from the Knights. In fact, that's another thing, is for the sake of our own behind the scenes, I had numbered the universes inspired by like the numbering from Marvel, like 616, or from Rick and Morty with the letter and the numbers. So I had always run it by, it's a letter followed by 3 numbers. And so Dunn SMP is D361 for obvious reasons.
361, because you didn't realize.
But even in doing so, I'd come up with numbers for other universes, and I've got it here somewhere in the documents.
I want to say it's in scripts, because I remember seeing it.
Multiverse script.
So from saying all of this, without doxing you, because I know what you studied in university and like what you're currently doing, but would you ever be interested in like going towards more digital or traditional media in the sense of like working with TV as a writer or anything like that? Or is this more of like a hobby that you just love doing this, in a sense of like, you much rather keep this as a hobby? Because sometimes, for me, I like cooking. I never share that on social media or anything like that, because I like to just keep it for myself. So is this, would you ever like to pursue this into like a career, or do you like to keep it just for fun and just a hobby and just make something awesome with friends?
I honestly, I would love to make a job out of it, but I find the area that I'm in is in architecture, and it's something that I'm all right at. I'm decent at it, and it's something that I put a lot of work into to get to where I am at it. So I feel like it's not something that I'm giving up anytime soon. But I would love to have something in this area, because it is something that I love doing. I go to work at an architecture firm for 8 hours a day. I commute for like 2 hours a day, come home, and I've got about 3 hours left of my window before I have to. But like after having dinner, I have 3 hours before I have to go to bed to get up to repeat the cycle the next day. I fill those 3 hours with SMP. That's actually why I barely ever stream anymore, is because I have 3 hours a day to work with, and all of it goes towards the SMP.
Yeah.
With so much behind the scenes, as you're seeing, so much behind the scenes stuff goes into it. That's what I was getting to, is the universe numbers D361. Such Skyworld is S361. So technically my character is actually from S361. We've never met the D361 version of Dunn or whatever. As far as we know, there isn't one. But that is something that we got to go into here. Everill's homeworld is E666, of course it is.
Will you ever meet the classic SMP Dunn? I remember that was always in talks, but obviously that was a long time ago. So
it was a long time ago, but then again, we planned it to happen like so far ahead. Realistically, if we were going to do it, we should have done it way sooner, or planned it to be way sooner. But we'll see. I suppose we'll see.
Classic SMP
it is something I would love
there.
to do. Because that's the fun thing about having other SMPs that are considered in this big multiverse, is getting them to be very different characters. Because my character from classic SMP was essentially a hermit. he just lived by himself underground, and that was his thing. So it's
you
a
were
very
like, when
stark
we played on it,
contrast
you
to
were
my
always underground, like mining
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, it was always funny. Because, like, I mean, again, that's another thing. I got a compliment on the Dunn SMP. Like, I feel like you guys are like, maybe apart from Hermitcraft, you guys are like one of the longest running SMPs I know. Like, I think you've outlasted the Dream SMP now, and I really thought that would have lasted for a lot longer, to be honest. Especially
Wait, Dream
because
SMP is done.
yeah, the Dream SMP, it was meant, there was meant to be season 2, but from what
Yeah.
I've heard, there's, I don't know the drama specifics, but I just know there's a
Yeah, I
lot
know
of
the drama.
drama. A lot of creators hate each other now, and they're not coming back.
So
The drama was, because I remember the drama. The drama was that Dream wanted season 2 to be a complete clean slate. Everyone's forgotten the events of the previous one, and there will be no reference to season 1 ever again. And it was a complete fresh start. But the issue and the drama came in as people like Philza and all said, Dream SMP season 1 is pretty much all of the memory of Technoblade. And so they refused to have it be in a series where we were completely just clean slating and forgetting all that. Because that's too important to forget. And so that's where a lot of drama came in of create a difference.
It happens, unfortunately.
It happens, yeah. So that's what ended up happening with Dream SMP. But
so that means we're
SMP
better
goes
than
on.
then. Yeah, Dunne
It
SMP,
means we're longer running, and I'll take it.
Yeah,
that's true. Dunne SMP better than Dream SMP confirmed.
Obviously, Dream SMP was hugely successful. Like, I would say it's even being Hermitcraft as the #1 SMP, but like, in my opinion, I think there was a lot of problems with Dream SMP, and the fact that it was successful, there, like, well, not when I say problems, I don't know how to put it. It was like the fans were like quite, I don't want to say crazy, but there's a lot of toxic culture from the SMP due to how popular it is. So I was curious, like, would you like the Dunn SMP to be as popular as the Dream SMP, or even more popular with the fact that you could get some toxic fans? Or are you happy what it is right now, where, you know, you got your, you know, your main supporters? Or would you love for it to, you know, grow a bit where it can still be loved, but you don't have as much of the toxicity that the Dream SMP fan culture had?
I think I'd obviously love for it to grow. I'd love to have a big I'd love to be able to turn on the camera and or I'd love to have it where we go in the Discord and we announce this is the next thing coming, and have, or like throw in a teaser of it and have hundreds of people being so excited. I'd love that, obviously. But I do get where you're coming from of, do we enjoy having the smaller side of it, which I do. I think if we were to grow massively, it would be very hard to have that connection with the viewer. But again, that's, I feel like something that if we got to that point, we deal with it. We deal with it when we get there. And as much as I love it as it is now, I have to admit, I would love for it to blow up. Despite that, I'm still loving what we're doing here. That it does not take away, the fact that we haven't blown up like that has not taken away from how much we enjoy the SMP. That's why we're still doing it. We're still doing it because we love doing it.
Would you guys ever consider going to just on YouTube, just record it? In the sense of like, because I've worked in a lot of scripted YouTube, like Minecraft content. So I know a lot of there used to be lots of YouTubers, like for instance, Ropo, who I did Ireland's Futurist Mind with. He used to be quite well known for the scripted Minecraft content because it was huge back in, I think, 2015, 2016, where every video would get millions of views. Now it's kind of died down again, but again, I could see it coming back up. Would you guys ever consider moving to scripted just YouTube, or do you think there's like a rawness, a uniqueness towards you just doing scripted live streams?
Well, that's the thing. I've always put it to the content creators that join us that whatever kind of content you make, you go for it. We do actually have some YouTube videos that go into it. I know for a fact the one thing that jumps to my mind is the Voidmates spin-off that ended up happening, where two of our characters, Sal and Everil, ended up creating a hole in the void and fell into another universe, and it became a modded miniseries. They only did a couple episodes of it, but that again was YouTube videos. And I know Charms, whom you know, his whole idea is that he wasn't going to be streaming anything. He was going to be making YouTube videos, and I believe those are still in the works. So
yeah, should be.
personally, I think streaming is for me. I
Mhm.
think I could make YouTube videos, but I feel much more engaged with the Twitch streams. I feel like,
Yeah.
honestly, the amount of editing that goes into them, I do not have enough time for that.
Yeah,
I
sure.
have enough on my plate running the SMP, that, and I also really enjoy having the live interaction with the viewers. So,
Mhm.
and like the live reactions, I love having that and being able to see it in the corner of my eye while I'm acting. I love that. That gives me the motivation to keep going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So streaming is really for me, but it's completely up to the actor, whatever they want to do for their content, on the
Yeah.
SMP.
Like personally, see, I have two minds of it, right? I personally feel like for lore, it would be better taught on YouTube because since you're not live, you could work on edits better. But I do really appreciate the charm of doing it live because, like you said, you get to interact with your chat and you can see their live reactions. And I know you can do YouTube premieres, but it's not the same as a Twitch
Mm.
stream. Let's be honest about that. That's something I used to do for your lore stream, was I would give you money just to try and slush to you. I don't think it worked
Oh,
a
I
lot of the
remember.
time. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
One thing that we do
Um,
have about that, though, as Stealth, is
yeah.
our prereqs.
Yes, our
We're infamous
prereqs.
for our prereqs,
Yes,
which
we
are our
are.
pre-recorded segments. So
Mhm.
during a stream, if there's a particular moment which needs to be more cinematic, or, for example, on this particular day we can only have so many people, and this scene needs loads of them, or even moments like that where it's like a 2-hour stream, but we need like 20 people for 2 minutes. We're
Mhm.
not going to get everyone together for those 2 minutes. We will do
Mm.
it as a prereq. So we will shoot it beforehand, edit it, throw some music in it, and we have it essentially just another option, a source on OBS that you can click. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we have loads of them there. And in fact, if I go back to the timeline here, that was the end of the Mysterious Tools arc there, and we came into the Command War, which is all about command blocks. We started. There was a Piglin cult that was being formed by Jake, which is the Pigs part 1 through 4. That was setting up the arc, and what ended up happening was the Piglins were finding command blocks left by the original builders, now scattered all over the world. And the way command blocks work in Dunn SMP is that anyone can use them. As Dunn would recognize, typically only someone in creative mode can edit them, not in Dunn SMP. Anyone can use them. And so the whole idea of everyone's got them, and someone, if it essentially became a civil war of Jake saying, command blocks are great, infinite resources, teleportation, whatever you need. And my character's
Mhm.
like, yeah, but you could also nuke Sun Valley in an afternoon. So it's too dangerous. And that people started taking sides, and that became our whole civil war in
Yeah.
Done SMP. And while I'm talking about it, I'm going to send in, I don't know if you've ever heard of our good old Celamina, who does
Oh,
so much
so
art.
that was
Uh,
great, honestly.
Cell's fantastic. One of the things we had for promotion for the finale of the Command War was this put in, which I'm now
I'll add
sending
this
into
in
our chat here.
post.
Make sure to get a timestamp.
This
Oh
Whoa.
wow, that's sick.
beautiful. You can see my crop thing is my face. She'd sent it across 3 days building up to it. Was one of the heroes, one of the
Mm.
villains, and then this one, which is a cropped down version of both of them put together for the big
Wow.
finale.
That's really cool. That's really well drawn. Like again, I think the thing that I like about the Dunn SMP is it feels like a TV show. Or like like I don't watch anime, but it feels like this could work as an anime series or something like that.
No,
It's one of those
worked
things
really
where you
well.
can tune in, and we have this long running story arc that you can follow along, and like even if you
Mhm.
fall behind a week, catch up. It is like a TV show. That's how we've structured it.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were talking about prereqs, and the reason why I wanted to is because I wanted to show you, Riley, to get your reaction. Again, very confidential, all this, but this
Yeah.
is
Oh,
now
yes.
the battle
The
for New Sand
prereqs.
City was the one that just was 2 weeks
Mm.
ago, or we took a week off actually, or we took 2 weeks off. So as the dust settles, I should actually move that down there because we've been working on it.
Oh,
But
I can
as the
update
dust
it
settles
after.
just happened,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
this is all the planned streams up until
Wow.
the new logo's announced and chapter
Yeah.
3 officially begins.
Wait, you mean Dunn SMP season blah blah blah. No, it's all right.
Yeah, it's the what would be it's the Dunne. I'm trying to think of a really stupid arc that people would believe, but
Yeah.
wouldn't be.
What was no? Because we threw that idea in. Is one of
Yeah.
our most popular viewer, or one of our very active viewers, is Cookies.
Yes, cookies. Shout out
And
to cookies.
Cookies
They're great.
asked, I asked Cookies, what do you think could be the third chapter of Done SMP? What do you think it could be about? And Cookies was like, I think the Cookie Monster is going to show up and it's going to kill everyone. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
this chapter 3 is going to be Done SMP cookied. or something like that. I can't remember why we threw the title around, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
But you can see on here we've even stamped them little stars on titles because those are ones with prereqs.
Yeah.
And so we know work needs to be put into them coming up to it. And you can see we've got little arrows that point, say, as the dust settles, needs to happen because the events of it set up this following one, which again, none of these titles have been announced, but that is essentially how we've structured it. And so we had a big meeting where we sat down and we planned out, okay, what's happening for the next couple of weeks? And so we've planned out everything. And now we've also got, like I said, we've got our Google Calendar, which I can pull up, where essentially we've planned out and picked dates for all the upcoming streams.
You can have a master document, but yeah.
We got the master document of all the links. So after the battle, there was September 1st. That was as we marketed it, the first chapter of season 3, or the first stream of chapter 3. Was it after, or was that one?
Yeah.
And now, again, not announced yet, but we've got a bunch of streams coming up.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited
One of those features me.
Oh,
I'm not going to say which one.
That's going to be a good one.
Well, I don't know if I can announce this. I'm actually, I don't know if Stealth has told you this.
Oh yeah, I haven't told you this.
I'm actually making an appearance in the Dunne SMP. I know you're in charge, and I'm making a secret appearance in the Dunne SMP
as an extra.
Not an extra, sort of in a sense, an actor. I've always found I've had a calling to Minecraft. I've been a Minecraft esports judge, successful Minecraft TikToker. I ran a scripted Minecraft YouTube channel with 20 million subscribers, but now I want to be an actor. So I'm going to be a Piglin voice artist.
I can't wait.
For Stealth's Dunne SMP video.
So, I mean, to be honest, if you're familiar with Stealth's character, you'd assume it'd be something Piglin based, because he is, without spoiling the story so far, he's currently in charge of the Piglins. So yeah, I mean, this is confirmation. This is official news. But yeah, now headlines. he still has to send it to me.
Yeah, I promise I'll send off some. I don't even know what Piglins sound like. I said I'd do a quick recording.
Luke is actually really good at doing it.
Stealth, you should send him for one prereq we needed a bunch of Piglin noises, and so part of that was, for like 10 minutes, we were just all sitting in VC just making Piglin noises and doing Piglin impressions. And so I took the recording of that and I cropped it and adjust the sounds. And so now it's the Piglin noise outtakes. And it's the funniest thing you've ever heard.
Honestly,
it's just all of the
that's probably a terrible one.
Everything in there is actually in the stream. Well, whatever it's... I mean, I've mentioned on my stream that it's more of a video, but I will premiere it on stream. But no, you'll hear all of our Piglin noises. Yeah, let me find it because it's somewhere. I've recently tried to reorganize my files, but that only works if you remember where everything is. But yeah, so Classic Reilly will hopefully be playing a Piglin. What Piglin is he playing?
I've no idea. I've just been told to record some Piglin noises.
I haven't even decided what Piglin he's playing yet, to be honest. Or have I? And done. But yeah, just because, you know, I thought I don't want to just have to use the same Piglin noise again and again, you know, that'd be boring.
No, but it's really cool to see the whole timeline of Dunne SMP and stuff. Like, one thing I wanted to ask is, because this is in reference to the Dream SMP. So I remember when the Dream SMP had their big like lore events and stuff like that, they would slightly change the story, like literally up till right before stream started. I think one of the last big, I think it was the Prison Break stream. So I think that was the last, it might have been one of the last streams Technoblade sadly did. But I remember from where I heard about it afterwards, turns out they changed the story right up until 10 minutes before all of them got on to stream and stuff like that. So I was like wondering, do you guys ever slightly change the story right before you stream, or is it like once the story's planned, it's set?
It depends.
We've had moments where that happened, but it was never intentional. We to be honest, we find that more stressful than anything else. We put so much work into writing the stories and making sure everyone has the script and everyone knows what's going on. I always let people improv. That's actually a good thing to talk about, is the scripts that we do, which I can pull up a script for you so you can look at yourself. This was the script for the stream that's just gone by. Which what it is essentially, it's a series of story beats. We say, this isn't spoilers. It's the last stream that just happened. This was as the dust settles. The valley gathers in the graveyard in remembrance for those who we lost during the command war. Dunn, Kevin, Leon, and Ethan all stood around the graves of Six and Chris. The others will be present standing a few blocks by. Some of this is kind of hinting at story that comes later on, so that I'm not going to say all of it. But you can see in here, it is just kind of bullet points as what happens. Someone has a conversation, they talk about this. We don't do any lines specifically. I think some members do for their streams. They might actually do lines because they want to cover certain things and they want to say it in a certain way. But this is pretty much our scripts, because I know myself, I'm terrible. I can't learn lines. Can't do it.
Yeah, no, well, for live streams, especially if it's like, if you're doing like an hour and a half live stream and you have to, well, one, you have to script it out. Like that's like scripting a 90 to 120 page movie script. And on top of that, like when actors learn their lines, they only have to learn like scenes at a time. They don't have to learn the whole script and know it inside out kind of thing. So like
about that way.
It would take like once every 6 months, once a year if you're lucky to do. So I think it makes much more sense in improv. But actually, since you're doing improv, has there ever been a moment where, because like some of you guys are live streaming at the same time, do you ever has an improv moment gone wrong and it affected the story?
Oh, very often.
Especially in the early days of
the rule by thumb that we've gone has been you follow the script, make sure every story beat in the script is hit, and around that you can improv as much as you want. Improv your lines, improv extra moments, improv anything you want, so long as it doesn't interfere with the script at hand, you're good. And in fact, I always encourage people, if you come up with something funny, do it. Come up with something good on the spot, improv it, do it. But we have had moments where someone has broken script, or we've had a lot of moments where people break script.
We have, yeah.
And most of the time we're able to just improv it and run with it. But sometimes we have had to be like, okay, hold up, hold the phone. Because like even in the earlier days, I died one too many times accidentally. My first ever death was not in the script. And we were like, screw it, it's canon, just keep run with it. But then I remember dying, like another stream I died like 2 more times. I was like, okay, no. And we had to specify that was not canon. And I kind of just, what we did is we roll with it. And I was like, okay, got back there, picked up my stuff, and just pretended like nothing happened. That was, that's what we've done a lot of the time. But yeah, we have broken script a lot. And
I can give an example. I can give a recent example. So, and this stream's already happened, but in the Battle of New Sand City, again, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but Leon dies in that stream.
Oh, yeah.
His death was supposed to be much more different. Originally, he was supposed to be cornered by piglins, but because these are actual piglins and not actors, because we can't get like 20 actors, I don't think. I mean, granted, even if we tried, it'd still be hard. And Bear was supposed to corner him and kill him. They didn't want to corner him. So
what ended up happening was it was a whole battle scene where I was being very picky that I wanted it to feel like an army. I wanted there to be like 100 piglins there that were all fighting. And the problem is, even though we upgraded the server's RAM capacity, there was so many piglins that the server began to slow them down so as to not overload the server. So the piglins were moving at like half speed. So while Leon was supposed to be cornered by the piglins, he was able to just keep walking and outrun them.
It was so funny looking at him trying to just get killed by them.
And so, what was it? What did he end up doing? Because I remember he ended up walking away and ender pearling up onto. He ended up ender pearling up onto the building we were all in. So he escaped, and he ended up improving a death then in later on that he again confronted Jake, and he ended up getting killed. That was again how we improv our way around it. And thankfully, now that we've been doing it for a while, we've all gotten pretty good at it.
But yeah, and that another like really cool behind the scenes thing. Well, I say cool, because that wasn't in the script. That generally was part of the reason that Atlas was like fully crying during that stream, because that was like a complete shock to her. That wasn't planned. There was no communication, but Leon was gonna get killed by Jake because that wasn't a plan. I was under the assumption that okay, well, I guess we're just gonna cancel it. But no, you just
rolled with it.
We rolled with it, yeah. Like Jake and Leon just, I guess, looked at each other in Minecraft and were like, "Cool, you see where we're going?" And then it worked pretty well. Because I'm in that scene, I'm like, "Wait, what?" And because again, it was completely improvised at the moment.
That's really cool to see. Like improv is so important,
Yeah.
especially for like S&Ps and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
nothing's better when you have the right people to improv with. If you have the wrong people to improv with, it's bad. Like there's a thing in improv, it should be yes and but sometimes people they do yes but and they don't do it. So a good example is I don't know if you guys have watched The Office.
Yes. Seen most of
Michael
that.
goes to an improv class, and what he does, it's really funny where he like they're doing improv, and it could be a scene about where I don't know, one person gives another person a pencil, and then Michael comes out and like says Michael Scott FBI, and he shoots them dead, and they have to act dead, but he keeps ruining all the improv, and there's nothing worse. So it's always important to like go in the scene and like how can you add to the scene and stuff like that.
But yeah, no. Yeah, so our most recent stream was with ourselves. Well, granted, there have been times on stream where someone dies where they really haven't been supposed to. For example, in one of Atlas's streams, she dies because of an elytra, and Keevan dies because of an elytra, and I think you also die in that stream. In both instances,
I remember rolling with it because Atlas ended up splashing onto the ground with her elytra. I was like, oh no, Atlas! I literally played it like this. I was like, oh no, Atlas, what happened? Oh my god, are you okay? And then we teleported her back in, I think, and she picked up her stuff. I was like, oh my god, Atlas, are you okay? You got knocked out there for a second. What happened?
yeah.
You know what that reminds me of? So this was the first lore stream I ever did. So this was before classic SMP. So this was during lockdown, and this was on Ray SMP. And this was we decided like there was me, was Ray, and my best friend Oren, and we stayed up till like 3 a.m. the day before the stream because we knew we were going to do a lore stream, and we just came up with the story and everything, and it was about a serial killer that was a duck. And it's a weird story, but anyway, what happened was we murdered lots of well-known players on the server and stuff like that, who were obviously in on it and stuff like that. And I was like the main story guy, and then like literally 10 minutes before Ray was about to stream, I realized, wait, hang on a second, the people that we all murder, they're meant to stay dead. How do we bring them back? So I think I had to improvise. I was like, okay, look, here's an extra little bit at the end where I don't know, we play a music disc and they somehow all magically come back,
and then somehow Palpatine returned.
Literally, it was so bad. Storytelling was, it was like I like to write and write stories, whatever, but that was like such a bad story ending. But the thing was, the great thing was because we had like cinematics in it, there was like a lot of plugins and stuff to make like dead bodies, and I even had my Minecraft character play on the server all day where it would look like I was a proper player to trick all the people. Everyone was like freaking out afterwards. We got like 40-50 viewers on it, and everyone was like freaking out, like, this is so cool, this is so cool. So when you're like talking about the pre-Rex earlier, actually, what I wanted to highlight is like the nice thing about live streaming versus YouTube is YouTube's kind of like, it's kind of like, obviously I don't want to say it's more professional, but in the sense of it probably flows better in the sense of, oh, if you make a mistake, you can cut it out. The nice thing about Twitch is it's raw, it's more authentic, and everyone always freaks out when they see like a cinematic cutscene. At least I found it. So I was like, do you find everyone freaks out when they see the cinematic cutscenes in chat? It's always lovely to see it from my experience anyway.
I remember the first ever prereq that was done on Dunne SMP was Sal. Sal did a prereq, and it was the very first one he ever did.
Is this the one where there's two of them?
Yeah.
Oh,
it was the first. It was the first reveal of there being multiple versions of him, because again, multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
But
very simple story.
It's a very simple story. And it was, he walked into a room. He basically walked to a door, and then it transitioned to black, and all of us watched were like, because he did not tell any of us about what was going on in the stream. Which personally, I'm like, I like to know so I can work everything into each other, and I can give input and make sure everything works well together. But I'll be honest, a lot of my other writers like to keep their cards close to their chest, including Sal. So Sal basically had this moment where he walked into a door, and it faded to black, and all of us watching as other members of the SMP not knowing what was going on, were like, what?
What's
and then
going
it
on?
cuts to a second angle, and you see him walking. We're like, wait, what? And then we realize it's pre-recorded. He walks in, and then another Sal walks in, and we're like, what? Whoa,
It's a Spider-Man meme.
Yeah. It was such a shock reaction because none of us had ever even thought to do that before. And now you've probably got a prereq in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I feel like it's kind of made it more difficult for us than it had to be, because a lot of streams don't need prereqs.
Yeah.
They don't need to be. And honestly, I think it works a lot better for streams if it's live, because now in the prereq, you're losing a lot of the live reaction from the content creator. But now in this, we've found it where, like, if we'll typically have a big cinematic moment, say, coming to the end of the Command War, there was a stream that Atlas did where she snuck into the Piglins Bastion. It was their base. And she ends up overhearing a plan of them making this big machine that was going to be used to destroy the world.
Yeah.
And so she hears about machines being stolen and something's being worked on, and then she escapes. And then we had a cut to a prereq of 1 week later or something like that, and we see the big machine that's been constructed, and it's a big zoom out dramatic shot with the music and everything. It was very cool.
It was genuinely. It was really
which
awesome.
Fun little behind the scenes thing for anyone who has been watching Dunne SMP and knows the prereq I'm talking about. I shot that like 6 months ago.
No, I genuinely remember that because you had like told Jake your thing is done, and I was like, cool. And then we couldn't do. Well, back when the battle was supposed to happen around then.
It was the plan was to have the showing off of the big machine, and then the battle, and then life happened, as it always does. And so
really busy.
we were like, we can't do this now. We came with a bunch of other stuff we could do, and we pushed it back. And so the prereq that I'd made was for a stream that was supposed to happen like months before.
Yeah.
And we essentially took the prereq I made, and Atlas, since it ended up being for her stream, she shot one or two other things and imposed them on top of a couple of the jump cuts, and essentially redid the jump cuts to kind of update it to more stuff that made more sense for the current area of the timeline. And it came out perfectly. So good.
No, it did. Generally, it's one of the best.
I love the prereqs we do.
Oh no, they're great. And once again, I've never plugged this season about bit. Check out the Dunne SMP. Like, I'm not just saying this because we're in it. It's good. I've showed it to some friends of mine, and
here's an interesting note, right?
Yes.
Is where I think we're falling short.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing to bring up, because we talk about how great it is, but like, it's not perfect. And I think
no, it's not.
Where we fall short, personally, I think, is marketing.
Yeah,
I'm terrible. I'm terrible at marketing, and that's why it's one of the most important jobs where I'm like, I shouldn't do this because I'm bad at it, and I've got so many talented people that I'm working with that could do it better than me.
Yeah.
Such as the TikTok. That's why I don't run it. I would not know what I'm doing. I would be making shite and putting it on there. But I feel like genuinely that's why we haven't blown up over the last like 2 years we've been doing this, is because I'm marketing it terribly.
To be fair, one, it's not really a criticism, but I think if it was to blow up, the one problem would be I think you would regret it if it blowed up. I know you want it to blow up, but in my opinion, I don't think it would be the greatest thing ever, because I mean, I study a lot of I research a lot of marketing and studying and stuff like that, and channels to blow up, and personally, I'm glad I blew up, it also destroyed me. I hated it in the end. I think the problem was I really love how unique and fun, and how everyone loves the Dunne SMP and the storylines and how great it is. But when you look at the Dream SMP, like, I mean, I've just heard it's horror stories of like how toxic the fans are, and like how they want to show up at some people's houses because the wrong storyline and they wanted to kill the person. And it's like, it's really like, I think there's it's both a blessing and a curse, I think. And then also another problem is now, I think Minecraft, it's not that it's dying again, but I think it's the great thing about lockdown was everyone was watching and stuff like that. Like if you watch all the Dream SMP, it used to be like 200 to 500,000 people. Now it's like
Yeah.
on the SMPs, it's only 5,000, which is still a huge number. But like when you compare it to that, but at the same time, I think what is needed is something fresh and unique. And the great thing about the Dunn SMP was, even though the Dream SMP was technically scripted, there was a lot of non-scripted elements. Like you could just, you could have a lore moment and then the rest is non-scripted. Well, you guys have like had fully scripted content, which is like really cool. Like even recently, I can't mention who she is, but I had a conversation with a person, and she works pretty high up with a lot. When I say like she works with some pretty big names on YouTube, like I mean really really big names. I was like, I don't want to reveal, but you, like, we were talking about scripted content, because I was like talking about her. Does scripted content have a future on YouTube? And she hadn't really thought about it, and she's like, it's definitely a possible comeback. And even I've talked about it. I remember I sent a question into Hayden Hillier-Smith, who's Logan Paul and Mr. Beast's editor, and he's a really good creator, and even he thinks there's a future for scripted content. So I'm curious to see also, while Minecraft might be dying, there's also could be a massive rise in scripted, like the type of content you do, especially looking back as well historically, because historically things tend to pop up again. Like vlogs are starting to get popular again, but like Minecraft scripted content used to be hugely popular. So it's going to be interesting to see, because I'd love you guys to see success, but I also don't want you to get where it's so toxic that you hate it.
Yeah.
No,
So-
I agree.
So yeah.
Because I've had a similar thing when it comes to script. Like, sure, I would love to grow by having more people just watch my stuff, whether or not I think it's good or not. But there is always the downside: is the more people you have, the more likely you are to have toxic communities and toxic fans. And I'm sure Luke's worried about that, or at least thought about.
I think it's one of these things where you can't really avoid them.
Yeah,
it's unavoidable, and it just has to be a thing you need to learn how to deal with it. And funnily enough, I think my favorite reaction of someone talking about how they deal with it was Jay from TGF. If you remember when he cemented his head in a microwave and he started getting so much hate about it, and he talked about one of the comments that he got, or he did like a Q&A about it, and he goes, how do you deal with all the hate? And he goes, you know how I deal with it? And he had his laptop in front of him, he goes, done. Sorted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's something you learn to deal with, and I think in the long run, I think I would enjoy. Like, I'd love if we could able to do this as a job. I think that's a thing that we've all kind of shared, is we all love doing it, and if we were making money from this, that we could leave our jobs and do this full time, we would all do it. We'd all take it in a heartbeat.
Definitely.
Despite that,
if you ever need help with that type of stuff, like marketing or whatever, I'm always happy talking about, like, literally, I study YouTube almost for a living now. Like, I have to edit for like a lot of different creators and stuff like that all the time. So I've read a lot, but the thing is, I don't just study YouTube. I've literally, like, if you look, wait, can you see my bookshelf? I have like a bookshelf filled with like marketing book. I read a lot, and this is only from the summer. Like I have like lots of my own like theories on how to do well on like YouTube, and maybe not as much on streaming, but like I always love like talking about it and studying it and stuff like that. So if you guys ever need somebody that's more involved in behind the scenes, I'm totally down. It's just I'm not always good at making commitments as, oh, I have to turn up to this live stream, but I always love being involved in like film. This to me, this feels like a filmmaking live streaming project, and I always love doing that with people that are dedicated to it.
Hey, I'll get you in touch with my marketing team.
Yeah.
Classic Reilly extenders to becoming soon. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if you ever want to fill out an application, you know where they are.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I've always wanted to be a Pigland voice actor. That's always been the height of my dream.
We'll always take more extras if you want to play a piglin.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually need because if we have more extras, that just makes it easier for people. Not gonna lie.
That was the whole inspiration, is that you, Stealth, started off as a piglin extra. It was at the beginning of the Command War when we first were introduced the piglins as a group. all working for Jake. We needed a couple piglins that would, be like stood beside him like soldiers and would actually follow and do what he said. So we needed people to play them.
Yes.
And we got the whole idea that I had was, classic SMP. I'll get a couple classic SMP members to come on and play some extras. Stealth was one of them.
It's me.
And then of course the idea was like, you asked how could I get a permanent extra role and that kind of thing, which is then what ended up happening is we started just spitballing ideas of actual story you could tell for your character. And then we ended up writing what you now have, which is kind of like the Tarzan if it wasn't apes, if it was piglins. That's basically what we went with.
I'm totally a piglin. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, he's a piglin.
Spoilers.
I just have a rare skin condition. I'm just totally a piglin. But no, another funny thing is originally I was supposed to actually be a piglin, like design wise.
Yeah, I remember that.
I appeared in a non-canon stream as my human self. And Luke was like, okay, Luke just completely had an idea to change it, which means I prefer. But I still find it funny your reasoning was because, I know it's not canon, but like, maybe? I don't know.
It was those things where that situation gave us the idea, made it so we had to specify canonity.
Yeah.
Where we have canon scripted streams. Everything that happens in it is canon unless specified otherwise. We have non-canon streams, which are full on, this is not happening, this is a random event, things like our Halloween special. Those are not canon. None of that actually happened. We did not go off to a random mansion and have the dress-up party with the guy who we wanted to kill. That never happened. But we also then have the light lore, is what we call it, which is what those streams were, where it's basically assume whatever's happening is canon, but it isn't necessarily canon. It's similar to MCU adjacent, which is an old term they used to have for the Netflix series, where it was events in the canon streams, such as the movies from the MCU, will affect the light lore ones. But the light lore ones do not have a script, but what happens in them will probably be considered canon. And that's where I had the whole thing with Stealth, is because Stealth showed up as a human character. And so I said, okay, well, we either have to specify that was not canon and that never happened, or we run with it, we improv, we run with it, and we come up with a new idea. And that's what we ended up running with. And
to be honest, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have made as much Minecraft skins as I do now. Oh,
now he's our texture boy. Now he runs our resource pack.
No.
I just love the fact that you guys have jobs for everyone. I think that's really, it's a real proper collaborative community. I think that's like amazing, because I've just, usually I hear when it comes to SMPs, like usually it's like one or two people that like make all the decisions, and then people don't feel as involved, so they tend to leave faster. And it's like just the way you've planned it, like you're literally, the way you're doing this is amazing. Like just everyone has their own jobs, communication's key, you have your whole storyline, like you're the way you're treating it is like a full-on TV show, which I mentioned earlier, like, which is really, really cool. Like I don't even think the Dream SMP would have gone to that length. So it really just shows how I really just like the way you've done it. It feels proper, it feels like professional and stuff like that. So like, even though you guys haven't seen the success that you deserve, I mean, I gotta applaud you on that. And I know I'm like, what is it, boosting your ego, but I think it's well deserved.
I think one of the interesting things to talk about is how we haven't had a lot of conflicts in terms of creative differences. We do have them, they do happen, but we will often come to a conclusion about it. And one thing that I've done, which is kind of controversial in terms of the running of the SMP, is big decisions that are made. I've said my word is final. We are not a democracy. We are a dictatorship.
That's really good. I have to commend you on that. I think there always has to be a person that has the final decision, even if you hate it, even if you don't like it. If you don't have one person to top that makes the final decision where everyone doesn't agree, you need that one person. Because like, I'm just thinking back from college days, I remember I was meant to have started the radio and podcast society in my college, and what happened
Foreshadowing.
was that it kind of fell true in a sense of that the 20 people joined and I was instantly not given a role, and they made it the way they divided it out was everyone had equal power, everyone had stuff, but the problem was everyone disagreed with each other. So
Yeah.
it turned into having a radio show online, and everyone was given like 5 shows a week, and no one listened to it, and you had to research for it, and everyone was completely burnt out by the end of the first week, and it was all because no one was in charge. It was like I was like kind of saying, "Oh, I would do it like this," but instantly I was like, "No, don't do it like that. Do it my way or something like that." Even though I had no experience in radio or podcasting, which I did have at the time. So it's so much easier when you have at least one person at the top. It didn't even have to be me. It's just like, no, we're doing it this way or that way.
Yeah.
If the person's competent and has a clear vision, then it makes things so much easier as a
That is
dictatorship.
one thing that I've always said is I I chose that as our way of decision making for a couple main reasons, which is that I feel I'm very open-minded. Before I
Yeah.
make a decision on something, I will take input from everyone, and everyone is welcome to give me their input before I
Can
make a
confirm
decision.
that.
Really important. Yeah.
And one of the biggest reasons why I was like, the reason why I am the one making the decision is because I don't want there to be a controversial decision that has to be made and everyone gets divided about it because we have a vote or something and half them are voting one, half them voting another, and now all of a sudden there's this stigma between one another. Oh, but you voted for the fucking thing.
Yeah.
I've always said the reason why I'm doing it is because if a bad decision has to be made and it is made, it's on me. It's my call. If someone has a problem with the decision making being done, their problem is not with anyone other than me. I take full responsibility for it, which is how I've always run it. And thankfully, we haven't had many situations like that, but that is why I dictated it that way.
Yeah.
That I will take as much input as I can, and I can change my mind if we do a certain thing and someone thinks that's wrong or think it'd be done better, they come to me, they convince me, we'll do it.
Yeah, and honestly,
it's worked as far as we've done it.
Like you said, it does work because there's this wrestling company, which when it was started, I just felt like it was just all friends running it. And the problem with that is when you're just running a company, not to say that we're more or less a company, right?
Yeah, we're a
Close enough.
non-profit. We don't make any money from it, but it is an organization. If we actually started making money from it, I would have to make it a company legally and pay you guys.
Yes.
If we made money, it would be a proper organization. That's really the only thing that separates us from it. Yeah,
but truthfully, let's be honest, if we just ran this solely as just friends, we probably wouldn't ever get anything done. So it is very important to have like a somewhat chain of command, to have that person willing to make the tough calls, because again, if it was just friends, it'd just be all messed up. I'm not to say that we aren't all friends of a Dunne SMP. I'd like to say that we all are, even if most of you live in flipping Ireland and you keep dodging me whenever, like the amount of time someone from a Dunne SMP is like, "Hey, stuff, we're thinking of coming to England," and then they just don't.
See, this is why Classic SMP is better. At least I visited you twice.
He's visited me twice, exactly.
What's your excuse,
but London's such a hike.
It's an hour on Ryanair for 20 quid return.
But like you need a whole day off work and it's a whole thing.
That's true. Yeah, he's right. I mean, hey, we're gonna change that soon. I swear, if you all cancel,
we're planning a London trip. That is coming soon. That's like the next thing we're doing.
Yeah, because if you guys cancel, I'm going to find you. Well, granted, I have your coordinates.
It means you'll have to come to. You'll have to come to Ireland to come see us then.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
I've literally offered him like he's welcome to stay for a week at my place.
I have plenty of people. I always tell my parents that, yeah, by the way, sometime when I go to Ireland, they're like, "Okay, you're gonna stay in a hotel?" I was like, "No, I have plenty of friends." I was like, "Yeah, but can you trust them?" I'm like, "Yeah, no," because I'm gonna be honest. If they're really scary people, they do a really bad job of hiding it.
That's what happened with 2 Classic SMP members. It was Cindy and Katie, and they both came over from Germany and the UK, And it was kind of like, to be fair, they like, I knew them both really well because we were friends, but at the same time I think they had a backup plan where they could go to a hotel if needs to be. And I mean, I it was quite bad because like Cindy especially had a really dark sense of humor, and I did too. So I was like, oh, don't worry, I'll harvest your organs that's somewhere over there. So what happens is we're coming back, and we miss our transport. So I have to get a lift back from a place called Carrick Mines, where is the last stop at the Lewis. And so it's about probably a 50-minute drive from my house, driving wise, and you have to go through the motorway. But then you go into the countryside, and it is pitch black. And I mean, and it's like I was like thinking, oh, okay, yeah, this might not be the greatest look because it looks like we're going into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, we're just getting ready to harvest your orchids. So yeah, but anyway, they both made it out alive.
I think they're both still alive. Granted,
Yeah.
I haven't
Survived to tell
spoken
the
to them
tale.
in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I haven't talked to them properly since they came to Ireland, but that's
I
just
wonder
a
why.
coincidence.
Sure, it's definitely a
Yeah,
coincidence.
okay. It's a
Yeah.
coincidence.
But
Here's the fun thing.
Yes.
Talking about Dunne SMP lore again. By the Dunne SMP's multiverse logic of every Minecraft world is a world out in the multiverse. And characters, the similar way they would work in Minecraft is what applies in the story. Reilly, what are your thoughts on Dunne meeting the operator of another world like Classic SMP?
Oh, that'd be cool.
It would be a first time we're on screen we're actually seeing two operators meet.
That would
Two
be
operators in different worlds.
That'd be a really sick story. Like actually, when you were saying that, I was like, like this is just me being narcissistic and cheeky. I was gonna say, does Dunn ever meet Classic Reilly from Ireland's Future Is Mine, the Minecraft esports judge that has to make hard calls, which ends up with children crying when he doesn't choose their team. But that sounds like a better storyline. The Classic SMP operator. That sounds more intriguing.
And then you have like, I mean, you're a fan. Well, you were a fan of a Flash TV show before it went to shit. Instead of a council of woes, it's a council of operators.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that
honestly,
would be cool.
We
That
get a
would be
bunch of other operators from other worlds.
Yeah,
I mean,
on.
look at this point. Like it sounds like it's inspiration from some of the Marvel films, but we can do it a million times better. You know, the Council of Kangs, the way they've done it, it's been crap. You know, we can do it proper.
Okay,
I've always thought I'd love to have, because when I first did I did very few, but my Classic SMP lore streams, because I think I planned to do a bunch, and I was trying to get, because I came from my background in Dunne SMP, and I was trying to encourage everyone from Classic to actually get in. This is back in season 1.
Yeah,
I was trying to encourage people to get into lore and to get started because a lot of people wanted to. And so I came up with this like a small little story arc we were going to do, and I had a stream that I did. And I remember I opened it up with a prereq. I opened it up with a prereq of, we've seen Dunne SMP, but there is other worlds out there, and it transitioned to Classic SMP, seeing my character being this other person, how he's this little hermit that lives underground, and we did that transition of, this is two worlds in one larger universe. So it would be cool if we had some crossover in the future. But
I'm always down like to do something like that if you ever need me in the future.
We'll
Just hit me up, you know? I'm always down. I owe you one, you know?
Like we said, he's technically debuting soon. I mean, I started off just playing a lineless piglin. Reilly will be playing a piglin soon.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw what led to for me. I've now become, I'd like to say I'm a decently-ish. Oh no, don't get me wrong, I'm not the main character by any means. It is like still, but I mean, my guy is like some form of authority now.
That was actually something interesting, is that believe it or not, I did not want to be the main character.
Yeah.
Despite some questionable choices then if I didn't want to be the main character, considering, you know, the title of the SMP. I was opposed to being the main character because I didn't really want to be the center of attention. I didn't want it to be this big egotistical thing. But what ended up happening was, when I was making the SMP, I didn't know what to name it. And I was like, it's going to be a meta series where everyone's kind of a part of it, and the story rules of it kind of make sense of Minecraft logic and all that. I have no idea what to call it, and I was really drawing a blank, and I was asking the members of the SP, what do we call it? And no one could think of anything, and I was like, fuck it, it's gonna be Dunne SMP, and the reason why is not because I'm the main character, it's because it's named after the operator. It's named after the person who is running the server, because that's kind of what the story revolves around. So the server, the world, is named after the operator Dunne SMP, and that's where the whole name came from. Now, again, all the stories revolve around me, and that again was because in the first, for majority of chapter 1, I was the only content creator. I was the only streamer, so every stream was a me stream, and it was very hard to have a story that I'm not the main character, where I'm the perspective we're seeing. It was very hard to write a story like that. We have ended up actually being able to do more story arcs where I'm not necessarily the main character. Like typically we have our different antagonists, and there will often be another character that is like the kind of opposing force to that antagonist.
Yeah.
Where it's seen often through my perspective, and I'm often a big part of it, but I'm not necessarily the main opposing forces. And we have a lot more planned for those kind of things for chapter 3. We've already got our villain ready. We're all very excited to see them
I
show
can't
their
believe
face.
Cookie Monster's the main villain. Like
Cookie
Monster's
unmasked, and it's classic Reilly. Like holy crap!
What?
Classic Reilly versus Cookie Monster. That's done as
I mean, I used to. Wait, hang on, guys. Hang on. I've got the villain right here. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, he's gonna give a llama, isn't
Here
he?
it is.
Or something.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Okay.
let's see.
Are you guys ready for this?
Oh, we're ready. We were born ready.
Oh my god.
For context, because remember, this is an audio podcast.
So I used to be a puppeteer. That's the villain. That can be the villain, the Cookie Monster, because it's technically a Muppet. You know, it's blue.
You see, you say this now, but I'm sure somewhere in Luke's brain, he's working out how to actually make this canon.
Stealth, get out of my head.
Because actually something did happen canon wise with the Ray SMP. So I don't know if you noticed, like I used to be a filmmaker.
Yes.
Have you ever seen Hitman Legend of Don Soap? It's a terrible film. It's literally about a hitman in Ireland, and he's trying to kill a unicorn serial killer, and he ends up by accident killing a crime family. And there's lots of, it's a really weird film. Daniel Day-Lewis's godson is an extra in it, fun fact, and it somehow won an award at a film festival. And it's literally me wearing an Elvis Presley wig with a weird mustache, and it's like the cringiest thing ever. And long story short, I remember I showed it to a few friends on the Ray SMP one time, and they were like, we need to bring this character into the lore. So that's how it came. Don Soap turned into a serial killer on the Minecraft Ray SMP lore. So it's always funny bringing real life things into it. Not saying to bring the bloody puppet into it, but I just thought that would be a funny thing to mention.
I don't want to spoil anything, but we have a lot of fun with our NPC characters, such as Rashers and stuff, and Gregory, and we have a lot more plans to have more NPC characters. We have a lot of plans for them. I'm so excited for this next stuff coming up. I can say as I said, we planned ahead for however many years of content. So currently, we planned out season 1, which you never know. We might end up deciding that after season 1, we all have our own lives in the way, and we may actually end it there. I feel like it's unlikely because we're all very excited for season 2, for chapter 4. But yeah, again, chapter 4, 5, and 6 will be season 2, and so far for chapter 3, we came up for a story for what will be chapter 7, the first chapter of season 3. But we have not really come up with much for beyond that. We've thrown around ideas of stuff in the far future, but like we've pretty much planned that much, and I'm very excited. I cannot wait to show off the new logo we have for Chapter 3. I cannot wait. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, no, it looks after seeing it, it looks sick.
Mm.
Um, so I suppose I was just gonna ask. So I suppose it's starting to get a bit late. So I was thinking of wrapping up soon, but I was
Yeah, it's
gonna
been like
ask you some of
almost
the
2 hours.
final things.
Go for it.
Um, I think we mentioned this pre-recording. We might have made brief mentions, but I was curious to know: would you ever consider making like your own live action adaptations? Like you have a strong community of loyal Dunn SMP members. They are all over the world, but it seems like you guys meet up a lot, like on holidays, which I think is
Well, we
really cool.
Irish
It's lovely
too.
to see. Would you guys ever be interested in like making a few short films or scenes or something like that?
Yes, I've wanted to. I think I said earlier, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
I've thrown around the idea of for our 3-year anniversary, we all get together and we shoot a live action adaptation of some of the big moments from the series. Again, it'd be difficult because some of our main characters, like Everil, who is the villain of the Mysterious Tools arc, the Chapter 1, he lives in America.
Yeah, he's up north.
Tough getting him to Ireland. Like, realistically, if we're going to be shooting anything live action, it'll be in Ireland because 90% of us live here. But we would have to work around that kind of thing. Of we shoot stuff with the characters that we have here to work with, because this isn't our job. We don't have a budget to fly people out here. But
Yeah,
I would love to do it. I don't know if everyone else is on board, because some of the streamers are faceless. Stealth being
like this
one.
guy. Yeah.
Some of our characters are faceless, so how would we have them kind of play the role? We'd have to be very creative with how we do it. But it is something that I have had an interest in doing, and I'm whittling my way down. I'm getting people on board with it.
I mean, I may be faceless, but come on, character Stealth basically wears a mask. And character Stealth is basically real Stealth. The only difference is he's a bit more piglin-y. So like, I mean, I'm always down.
In terms of my character design,
I mean, you could always manipulate the source material a bit.
That's true. That's true.
We kind of have to for like character designs and stuff. Like, we can't make high quality costumes of our characters. I say that mine I can, because mine is literally what I'm wearing now. That's my skin.
I've looked into making not a Dunne SMP Stealth cosplay, but just a general Stealth cosplay. It's just gonna be goggles and a mask. But you know, it'd be really hard to do if we did the live action thing. Now, granted, that'd be hard for many reasons. But Sal's character?
Oh my god.
Just
things like that, we'd have to just get creative with like face paint or something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like essentially the smallest amount of prosthetics that we could figure out how to do. If we could get like essentially just something to put on his face, like horns or something like that, and we work with it. We'd have to do something like that. And really emphasize it with the costumes. Because one character I would love to see, and I always go on about this, the one I'd love to see the most in live action is Jake.
Oh no.
Jake is the antagonist from Chapter 2, from the Command War. He was the guy who got the start of the Piglin cult, and was the one who was gathering the command blocks and saying, oh, we could do so much good with them, trying to get on everyone's good side. And his character design is a jester. So he's got I sent the screenshots in our Discord here, and if you want to put them in, we can put Stealth. We can put in the timestamp if you want to show these on screen. If you wish.
Oh,
I'm giving you more editing there. That's the jester outfit. Those were some cells art during the battle for New Sand City. That was actual real events that happened during it. Where the first one there you can see is 4 different shots of Jake, but from different moments throughout the stream. One of which, I'm getting now into spoilers for the battle for New Sand City, which is, again, it's gone. But it was the ending. It was the ending of Chapter 2, where screw it. If you find this interesting, go watch Dunne SMP. But the ending of Chapter 2 was Jake had ended up taking over a whole city with the Piglins. And now this was our big moment of he's gone too far. He's building this machine that he can use to destroy a whole place, as he wants to do it as this big demonstration of the power of command blocks. So we were like, we're sick of it. We're taking back New Sand City and we're stopping Jake. And one of the things that happens is he brings in the fleet. It was a fleet of bomber ships. The fleet of bomber ships comes in and they're dropping TNT, and he was about to level the city, kill all of us to show off how powerful these are. And my character previously had a Age of Ultron style nightmare where he thought everyone was going to die. This was going to be it, where everyone's gone. Which is a really interesting thing about his character from the very beginning. Is, as I said, he was kicked from Skyworld for using commands. So now Dunn's whole character is he has this constant internal conflict of he's the operator and he's the responsibility of being the hero and protecting everyone and keeping the world safe, but also he doesn't want to use commands. He has all these powers and he can't use them because it's unfair, because whoever he may be facing did it completely on their own, using no commands, using no operator powers, so he should be able to do the same. This final moment was in the climactic moment of the Battle for New Sand City when the fleet flies in. He looks where the bodies were in his nightmare, where he thinks everyone's going to die. He's looking at Jake and he's begging him to turn it off. And he says, no, it's too much fun. And what Dunn ends up doing is, fuck it, types game mode creative, takes off, kill all piglins, replace all command blocks with stone, takes off and starts punching through the airships in creative mode, stopping everything in its tracks. As one of the big final moments of the battle where he's finally broken his rule and he's in creative mode and he's flying around in the story. It's right now it's happening and he's in creative mode just flying around. And you can see in the art there, one of the shots that happened, the moment he went in creative mode, Jake shouts up to him, Luke, that's cheating. As you can see him looking up into the sky.
That was improv, by boy. Again, completely improv.
Oh, really? Damn.
That whole scene, from my knowledge, Jake's like monologue, because he gives one amazing monologue. So
an incredible monologue, which
honestly,
I think he'd scripted the monologue, but moments like that of him like shouting at me, "That's cheating!" when he took off, that was all improv.
Yeah, like I think the monologue was just some bullet points because he wanted to make sure he knew what he wanted to say because it's a very important monologue. He didn't want to mess it up.
That's the other bit of art there with him facing off against Atlas. That was during the monologue.
Yeah, like genuinely, that was just master improv. And honestly, live action Jake or Jack, whatever he wants to be called, that honestly be great.
Actually, just to touch on that, I was just gonna ask. Okay, look, you've been given, I don't know, $150 million budget to make the Dunn SMP, that arc or that season of the show, and you and is it Jake are the fighting off. Let's say the rules are that you can't play your character and Jake can't play his character or their character. Who would you like, famous actor wise, who would you want to play both characters?
I've actually asked Jake this.
We've joked about this before, I think.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, we were going to get Chris Pine to play Dunn.
Okay, yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
I can't remember what the other ones were though.
I asked Jake fairly recently who he would have play Jake. He said Ryan Gosling.
Of course he did.
That would be cool. That'd be cool.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Ryan Gosling could do it because as you don't know, I feel like Ryan Gosling was on the short list to play Joaquin Phoenix's Joker or one of the Jokers.
He's very talented. Like he has a good range from like Barbie all the way to Blade Runner. Like he's
not just Ken.
No.
Actually, no, I really want to see Ryan Gosling play Jake. I don't know who to play me. I haven't decided that yet. But Chris Pine, as you know, I can see that actor. That works really well.
Chris Pine has done 3.
Of course, we need Chris Pratt to play someone. Chris Pratt as Raptors, of course.
Chris Pratt as Kevin and Atlas and Rashers and Leon and
that's true.
Pretty much everyone else. Like, come on, who else? Who more do you need?
It's just a Chris Pratt SMP. Everything should just be Pratt.
But here's the thing, right? You said if I had a massive budget, I think an interesting one is what medium would I translate this to, given I had the massive budget?
Would
had to be anime. I'd have to make it into an anime.
I agree, honestly.
Not even movies. It'd have to be an anime show. It would be like your Cyberpunk Edge Runners, where the anime show, and we would have all the story points, and I'd love to.
Well, the
I'd
only
love-
reason
I'd
I'm
love to
like
make
talking
anime.
about this is I know there's a lot of controversy around this and AI. However, at the same time, I think there's a lot of benefits and both negatives. And the thing I'm like thinking, if AI got to the advancement and if you were still able to implement your own like art style. So like let's say I'm just thinking of an artist on your SMP. I don't know if N does art for you, but I know N's in. But let's
She
say
does sometimes.
let's say she designs her own art style and she can like replicate her art through, because I know some artists are able to replicate their own art through animation, so all they have to do is draw a few times and then you can animate the characters and stuff like that. Would that be something you'd ever consider if AI advanced enough where you could literally make your own anime show and stuff like that on like literally almost a zero budget? Would you
I'd
go
love it.
down that route? Yeah.
We do have all of our art is done by Salamina,
Yeah.
who started off as a viewer and has come in to become one of the actual actors and the characters. And she will often do, as I said, the promotional material is all done by her. All the art is done by her.
Yeah.
And she has actually done 2 animatics for the SMP. So
Oh, cool.
again, it's like a slideshow with a couple of bit of animation in there, maybe like 1 or 2 frames, a couple of frames that'll go between. But so we do have a bit of animation in the SMP, which we're always all very excited whenever Sal says the next animatic is in the works. We're all very excited. Sal is so talented, so good at it.
No, it's the drawings look amazing.
Yeah.
I was in a VC with her one time. It was like me, Sal, and Drew and Alex, and she was like, "Yeah, but you know, I wish I was actually good at art. I'd like to do this professionally." And we were just like, "We paid you to make art for us. You do this professionally. Like you're genuinely really good at this. Like, if you want another reason to join Dunne and Pure Redemption, just we have like an art storage channel, which is mostly just sell art, and it's genuinely amazing."
We have the 2 channels for. We have the art discussion and the art storage, where it is everyone has access to art discussion, and you go in, you can chat, you can talk about it and all that, and often Sal will post her art in there, and everyone can talk about it, and anyone can post art in there. And the art storage is one where anyone can look at, but only certain people can post in it.
Yeah.
So Sal will often put a copy of all the art in the storage channel, so it is just there's no texture going through. You could just flick through and look at all the fun art that we've got.
Yeah.
Which I find myself a lot of the time just flicking through the art storage and looking at all the cool stuff we've gotten.
Oh no, when I got my first bit of Salamina art, at that point I knew I had made it, because oh my gosh, it's just so cool. Like, it's
so surreal.
It genuinely is. Just
it is always cool getting your own art and stuff like that. Like was it Salamina that I remember classic SMP season 1 opening night. I think you were involved. Were you there, Luke, on opening night? I think you were.
Season 1, yeah, I was.
I think it was you, me, Timmy Kid, and a few others got into like, it was like, well, it wasn't real altercation. It was like a fake altercation. And I just remember someone from your community drew some sick, I think it was Salamina, drew some like sick drawings the next day. And you were like hyping her up, like, yeah, we got our own artist. He's awesome and stuff like that. So it's great to see that she's now actually like properly involved in the SMP now.
I remember it started off with, it was just, she's a viewer and she does art. And then we had her involved in 1 or 2 of our events, so our non-canon things. And then she joined in as a full-on member.
Yeah, she's like one of the more, I guess, active streamers on the server, as in who actually streams lore. If that makes sense. Like, you'll see her perspective a lot more, especially more recently, ever since you joined. For example, most recently during As the Dust Settles, she has her perspective. And what's really funny is, in real life, she knows everything because she's been a viewer for ages. But her character doesn't actually know anything, so she's learning the lore of the server. But she actually knows it already, so it's like a nice juxtaposition of art and life. Which, I don't know, that's always funny to look back at it. Shout out to Sal, great artist, honestly. I know they made your profile pic. I mean, your current one and your old one. Your current one's just a promo art for Sand City. Also
I like to keep my profile picture as whatever's the most up-to-date art of my character. For the longest time, it was me at the end of the Mysterious Tools arc, where the way we took down Everil with a sword was because, through complicated lore plot that I'm not going to get into all of it now, is he had the ability to see the console. So he was able to see all the things that go on in the world. And he was able to channel that into a book. So he had this book that he was able to look through and see everything that's happening in the world. It's how he found the mysterious tools. It was how he's always one step ahead of us. And we managed to get our hands on that book. And so the way we got the sword off him is by threatening to destroy it. We said, if you give us the sword, we'll give you your book back. But he almost became addicted to it. That he needed to be able to see what was going on all the time. And so that shot is the art of my character in the armor with the book held up over the fire. And that was my profile picture for a good while. I've actually just found it here because I was flicking through art stores. We've been chatting, and I've got it here.
Yeah.
You know,
Put it in the timestamp.
I'm putting it in. I'm putting in the timestamp.
Note to self: if I ever bring my boss on the podcast again, be prepared to do extra editing.
I say that. You said, I remember you were saying you wanted to wrap up soon. Is there any of the last couple bits we want to do? Because we're at like 2 hours now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've asked a good. It's like it is asked a good bit of questions, but I'm really glad we did it. I feel, for me, I feel like I know a lot more about the SMP, but I think the most important thing I got out of this is just the passion.
Yeah,
I like, just from you, Stealth, even like seeing how passionate you're about, like, it's just amazing to see your project. Like, it always kind of, and you see, I'm guilty of this too, but it's always like, it breaks my heart where everyone's like, oh, this is going to be the new biggest SMP, and then it's like dies a week later and no one has the passion. And, you know, it's kind of like, I think it's nice to see that there's actually a group of people, they're actually just good friends. They wanted to make a really cool, awesome story. And instead of like just winging it, they're like, fuck it, let's just make it as professional as possible, in the sense of, let's see, copy this TV studios and like see how they make their storylines, and like or how they structure everything. And they have, you know, pre-records and stuff. That's cool. Let's try it. I think that's just pretty cool. So yeah. Hope that's good for the ego.
No. I mean,
my ego's already massive.
I mean, come on, it's called the Dunne SMB. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
You know, this is probably going to be the longest episode of a podcast now, because Luca wants to go to like 1 hour 40.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a problem. That just shows like how good of a time we're having. And honestly, look, if you ever want to come on again, I mean, one of us will probably be in contact with you. We'd love to have you again.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should probably end now because it's been over 2 hours, and I know that you have work tomorrow, Luke.
Oh yeah. You know, the moment we end this, I'm going to bed. Gotta be up at 6 in the morning.
Oh, fair. Okay, yeah, we'll wrap up then.
To wrap up, I know we've been talking about a lot, but Luke, is there anything that you want to promote specifically for reviewers of this podcast?
I think the big one is just the dungeon. Join the dungeon. You will love it. We have my big pet peeve with a lot of Discord servers is that you'll get spam notifications. I have intentionally designed the dungeon you won't, because one of the things you do when you join the server is you opt into particular roles, such as your pronouns, and if you want notifications. We do not add everyone. We add the notifications role. So you want to you want to get notified whenever any of us go live. We have a bot that adds you if you've opted into it. And I'm very proud of that.
That's cool.
No, it's great.
Join the dungeon, look at the cool art, and get to know everyone. You'll get to talk to the actual content creators behind it. We're still very much active in the dungeon, and we are very much, we'd like to talk to the viewers and get to know everyone. And we love to see everyone. We love to see interaction.
And we love to see where you think the story is going. Like, we're not going to confirm, but just seeing theories about where the story could possibly be going. That's just sasatisfying.
So really much fun.
I'm just excited for the next chapter. What was it again? What did you title? Oh, Dunne SMP Tree. Cookie. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
But yeah, I think
I'm also going to now get a link to the dungeon and send it.
I think that's it. Thank you, everyone that listened. Make sure to subscribe. We're trying to beat the other placeholder podcast. We're the #1 placeholder podcast. So make sure to subscribe. We'd really appreciate it.
They don't have Luke Dunne free.
Exactly.
Now, since we're ending, and you can't stop me now. How about I leak what the actual next arc of a Dunne SMP is called?